Let's start today by setting up our spiral for notes. You are going to need to reserve the first 3 pages for table of contents. So let's go ahead and let's label these pages as table of contents. There's my first page. My second page. And my third page. Now I'm going to start numbering my pages in that upper right hand corner. I'm only going to number the front side, not the back side. So this is page 1, 2, 3, 4, and today I'm going to stop on 5. I will expect you as part of your homework to continue numbering your pages. So let's go back to page 1. I gave you your guide for Cornell Notes today. So let's use that to set up a couple of pages at least, probably 3 to start with. I'm going to mark that first line. Then I'm going to come down 2 and do another horizontal line. Then I'm going to come to the bottom and I'm going to count up 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's where I'm going to make that bottom horizontal line. Then I'm going to put my guide against the spiral rings. And from that second line down to this line that I just drew, I'm going to do that to separate my left from my right. Go ahead and do at least 2 more pages like this right now. I will do the same. Remember, from the bottom it's 4 lines. And then separate your left from your right. I now have 3 pages set up, and I'm going to go back to my first page. We need to remember we always start out our notes by putting our name at the top in that right hand side, and underneath we put today's date. On top of that top blue line, we're going to put our topic. And today, that's lessons 2.2 and 2.3. We're going to combine 2 lessons today. Their titles: add and subtract real numbers. This section, remember, was for our essential question. How do you add and subtract real numbers on the graphing calculator? Now there are several things that we have to remember. Even using a calculator, we may need to remember the properties that we have to deal with. And so let's first start with the addition rule. Okay? And that very simply states, it has two parts to it. If you are adding numbers with the same sign, you add the numbers and keep the sign. Now the important part here that we are talking about is that if you are adding numbers with the same sign, you add and keep the sign. Okay? Now the second part of this is that if you are adding numbers with different signs, you subtract the numbers and use the sign of the larger. So if we have different signs, we're going to subtract and use the sign of the larger. Okay, we also have several properties. Of addition. And we're going to start with commutative. It's probably been a while since you've heard of these, but they haven't changed. Commutative. This is simply the order does not change the sum. We have associative. The way you group and you're going to group with parentheses does not change the sum. Of course, we have an identity property. The sum of a number and its opposite is 0. Let's get one more in here on this page. Inverse. Actually, I've goofed up. This one is not identity. This one is the inverse, and I apologize for that. So, identity down here is the sum of a number, and 0 is the number. I apologize for that mistake. It is now time to turn the page. Later, I'm going to ask you to go back and put the title here. You don't have to repeat the essential question though. Let's just keep going. I need to add in the subtraction rule. And that is to subtract B from A. You add the opposite of B to A. And let me show you what that looks like. If I am subtracting B from A, then my problem is A minus B. And in order to work that, I'm going to keep A, then I'm going to do what this says. I'm going to add the opposite of B. Another way to do this with numbers would be, let's say, 7 minus 4 is really going to be 7 plus a negative 4. Here are some calculator notes. And I'm going to highlight that for us. This is an important thing for you to learn and remember. You need to be sure to observe the difference between negative and subtraction. Remember, there is a negative key on your calculator. If you need a negative number, you need to use this key. This key here is your operation sign of subtraction. So let's do some examples. And I'm going to use the calculator. So this is going to be the better way to do this. Okay, so if we have negative 11 plus 3, turn my calculator back on, negative, notice I used this one right here, 11 plus 3, and I'm going to enter, and that gives me a negative 8. I could do negative 6.5 plus a negative 7.1, negative 6.5 plus, and I could use my parentheses here, negative 7.1. I don't have to use the parentheses, but I did. And I get negative 13.6, negative 12 minus 19. This is one of those places where you definitely want to be sure that you're observing which is which. Negative 12 minus 19. And I get a negative 31. We could try 18 minus a negative 7. This time I'm not going to use the parentheses, and let's see if it makes a difference. 18 minus a negative 7. And if you notice carefully, they even look different on the calculator screen. Didn't matter, it's a 25. And if we use our subtraction rule up here, that would be 18 plus a positive 7, and 18 plus 7 is 25. Here's one. 1/3 minus 1/2. Now this is where I would definitely use parentheses. Put each fraction into a set of parentheses. So I've got 1, wait a minute, nope I don't, I forgot. Open parentheses, 1 divided by 3, close parentheses, minus another set of parentheses, 1 divided by 2, close.